Hello, welcome. So today we'll dive straight into our Postman. And what we'll be looking at here today is remember that in one of our past video we created our token, and I did mention that for us to actually carry out our API testing on Jira, we need to have this token, and we created it. Advise that we copied it and keep it somewhere. I hope yours is safe because we're going to use it now. So now for us to actually test anything here, look at the interface. But the thing is that we are here to actually test APIs. So we're not going to be using this interface. Ordinarily on the on the interface, if you want to create an issue or create a bug, report a bug, you select here and then put your summary. Summary is kind of the title of the issue you want to report, and then you make your statement, assign the assign the task to one of your team member. That's as a tester now, this assignee, this is you, the assignee. Then we're going to have the assignee is the person that you want to actually carry out the task. That is the developer. If it's a front end, if this issue now is a front end issue, you're going to assign it to one of the front end developers. If it's a back end issue, then you assign it to one of the back end issue developers. Then the reporter is of course you. The reporter will be showing here, and then this is the sprint. The sprint that is actually active at the moment the work is being done is what you're going to select here. For now, we have just this print that is automatically selected for us after we created this. So you select this print, and then this is the interface, right? I'm not going to actually go deep into this Jira because that is not actually the aim. I just want us to dive. I don't want to do more theory. I want us to get our hands dirty on API testing. So, but this is just a brief of the interface, how it looks. Perhaps one of these days I'm going to do a special course on Jira project management too. So we go dive into it. It's going to be really in depth, but that is perhaps in another section, another video episode. So, but for this, it's more on Postman and API testing. But we're going to be using Jira, right? So we're not going to be using this interface to create our issues. Rather, we're going to be doing that through the APIs, right? Because of course, the APIs usually come first, then the testers test, and then hand it over to the front end to consume the APIs. After they consume it, you now have this interface. But before this interface comes forth, the testers must have done their work. Test, do um the test they needed to do, use the endpoint, and that's exactly what we'll be doing because this is actually Jira Live API, as it should be in your company. So normally with this interface, we should just come here and do all that. But we're going to be doing this now in our API. So for you to actually do this, you need to have that your token, which we open here. We follow this process, and then you need to have authorization. So in Postman, that is actually what we'll be dealing with today to actually fix all that in Postman. So if you actually have now, of course, this is where we stop on Postman. So you come to your collection. We created this workspace. You hit the workspace we created in our previous video, and then you create a collection. So um, I'm just going to name this collection. We might rename it later. Let's say Jira API. We might rename this collection later. But then now when you look at this collection, you look at here authorization. This is what I want us to deal with today. So this authorization, what this does is this helps you if this collection is if you actually need authorization for you to use this API, then this is where you put it, right? There are some APIs that you don't need authorization to hit the endpoint. We'll dive into that more as we are working. But for APIs that you need authorization to hit the endpoint, then you have to come here. You see here now no auth. So if we don't need authorization, you what you use here is no auth, and the API is going to work out. But once you need authorization, then you have to pick one of these. Now depends on what the developers use. That's the backend developer now. And most often in your company you see this bearers token. Then they put the token here, right? The token is being dropped here, and then but for Postman we're going to use this basic auth, right? So this basic auth, you're going to use the username and then the password. Now this username is your login email, the email you use in creating this account. The email you use in creating this account, that's what you're going to be using, right? This email that you use here. So this is the email I use in my own. That comes here. Then the password is that token that we use. Of course, I know most of you are going to say, I didn't use any password. I just use, yes, of course. That was what I said we're going to use. So that token is going to serve as our password. So you see the benefit of that token, right? So once we have that, you can now see this authorization is marking green, right? Now, if you put no auth, you see there's no authorization. So it means that you're going to hit the endpoint without any authorization. So it means that you literally don't need to log in. That's what it means, right? This authorization, what it does is if there's no auth, it means that you don't need to log in to hit the endpoint. Let me give you an instances. If, for example, you want to hit an endpoint where you are making a request, you want to get an information. Maybe I I entered a website and I just want to make a search, right? I don't need authorization to make that search. I don't need to log in to make a search. So in such endpoints, you don't what you'll be seeing here is no auth because you literally don't need to log in before you make the search. Though you could still log in and make a search, but for crying out loud, the guest can just come in and decide to make a search, right? But if, for example, I want to make a post, right? Maybe a blog, and I want to make a post. Of course, I need to log in before I make a post, right? So in such scenario, this bearer's token comes in. So there must be authorization. You have to log in to hit that endpoint. So this is where the difference comes in. So there are some endpoints that you have to log in to actually hit. There are other endpoints you don't need to log in to hit. But for this Jira, you just need to log in to create account and create an issue, report an issue, get your issues, of course. So that is what we'll be looking at. Then in line with that, we'll now look at this variable. We'll look at our uh, global what is the difference, how do you use it, how do you store information and then retrieve it. So we're going to actually look at all that. So for the purpose of this video, we'll be working much with our global variables, right? So let's actually move into what we have to do. So for us to actually use our Jira, we need, as I said earlier, we need to use basic auth. That is what is required. That is what the developers requested of us. So we are not just the one making it. And the instruction is that we need to put our look at. Okay, now let's go to documentation, the Jira documentation. So I'll just open a Google and put it here for simplicity's sake. So get your Google and put Jira open source API, and then scroll down here and click on this one, the Jira Cloud Platform REST API. Just click on this. Right? So let me explain to you. Let's look at project. So this you see, this is the open source API. This is the API, right? So if you need to get project to create a project, yeah, we're going to create a project to get project. This one is duplicated. So they're saying return of project visible to the user duplicated. Use this instead. So now if we need to use this get project, look at the instruction they're saying they're giving us. They're saying that this first, this is a get request, right? So it's a get request because we are retrieving information. If we are to send information, there's going to be a post request, as you can see here. This is a post. Then if you are deleting, it's delete. If you're updating, it's put. So just know the difference, all this. So this is a get request. That's the first thing you have to know. I'll show you how to select that in Postman. And then the URL, this is the URL. Your domain attrition. Then you now add this one. Now, what is your domain? I'm going to show you that. And then your user, exactly. This is where the authorization comes in. Now, the user is the email and then the API token. So what is the user? That is you that is using it. You are the user. So you must be authorized to use it. Your email and then the API token that was generated. Now, how do we get that? So we use the user. So I enter my username. My username is code ethics 22 at gmail.com. Then for the password, I'll just I'll go get that from where I copied it to and drop it here. Now, but this is not the best way to do it. You see? Now, you see, here, Postman is telling me use variable instead to keep sensitive data information. So this is not the right way to actually keep your variables. Now, the thing is that you don't just drop your variable, your data here. It's not right. So what you do is you drop the data somewhere else, either in your global variable or your environment variable. Now, the difference is that this one is just used within the environment, while this one is used within the collection, within the workspace, right? Within the collection, sorry. Yeah. So within this collection, the global variable is being used. So how do we do that? You just hit your global and then you drop it here, your initial variable, initial value, and then is already dropped on the current one. Then you give it a name, the variable name. What do you want to drop? You want to say, um, let's say my, or I can just say my token. Okay, my Jira token, right? Now take note of this. Now I have dropped this and then I'll save. So the information is now being saved here. Next time I want to use this, each time I now want to use this token, I don't need to come and copy this token. All I just need to do is to reference this name. I'll just pick this name and reference it. It automatically come here to the global variable and then pick this data here, right? So that's actually how you use your variables. Are you getting it? So let's go back to our collection. Now, initially I dropped the whole key here, which isn't right. You see that, yeah, you could just leave it, but then Postman is giving you a warning that this is not actually right. So that's what I explained. Now I have dropped it where it should be, right? I've dropped it in my global variable. So here, how do I access it? How do I access that information I dropped on my global variable? Take note of the name I gave it here. Let's just copy the name. I named it my Jira token. So I'll now come here. For you to access your variable, all you need to do is curly braces. Open curly braces twice and then drop the name and then close it twice. That's it. That's all. So you can see now that it's marked red. Look at it now. When I just take your mouse over it, you're going to see the key. That's the key. It's accessing it. If you're not seeing this, then you've missed it somewhere. Something is not right. Either you've missed the name, you didn't type the name. Well, that's why you see me. I always copy it and paste so that you don't make mistake. So this is just it. So now you save. So now we've done this. We've dropped this. I can now save this. So that's just it. So now any endpoint we hit now on Jira, we're going to get through because this it has entered my username, which is the Gmail account I'm using, opening it, and then the password, which is the token. So that means that I've been authorized. I've just signed in. So any endpoint I'm going to hit now is literally going to work. So that is what we're going to actually work on this video. In our next video, we'll start hitting the endpoints. Thank you and happy testing.